Laz here, your guy from globeg.net. All right. There are certain basic CLI commands that we can't afford to forget because we're trying to think of all this advanced stuff and we just forget basic stuff. And once you, especially in a certification exam where they're going to test you from A to Z, there are certain things that you just need to memorize, like your alphabet, your timetables, giving change, what have you. They're very easy commands, and we tend to say, oh, I'll remember that, and we just forget because we're so, oh, how do you do this GRE? What is this ASICs? Chips and VLANs and SD-WAN and SD architecture, spine and leaf. So we start paying more focus. We focus more on that side of the certification and forget about the easy stuff. And then unfortunately, very few, but some people take the test and they're like, oh, I can't believe I got an IP address wrong. I can't believe it was a basic VLAN question or basic CLI configuration. So this particular video is going to be what I call housekeeping. These are not what Cisco calls housekeeping, what I, Lazaro J. Diaz, call housekeeping commands. This is something you just need to know. Bottom line, period, end of story. Whether you're putting it in a friggin' script or you're doing it in the CLI, actually, you need to know these commands like the back of your hand, okay? So if we look at the screen here, we just have a PC, a switch, and a router. The PC I already put in just to show you. All right, here's the IP address, 1.1, 1.254. Not friggin' insane, not too big deal. We're using a 24-bit address. That's all we're doing, okay? So we're gonna start doing the basic housekeeping here on the router. Okay, again, what I, Lazaro J. Diaz, call basic housekeeping. Not what Cisco decides they call basic housekeeping, which is pretty much nothing. All right, now first and foremost, when this mode right here, when you see this particular prompt, this is not enable mode. Whoever put that in your brains is an idiot. Okay, this greater than symbol is user mode. User mode. It's called differently in, let's say, Junos, right? I've talked about Junos in my ISIS master class. Junos, there's two modes, operational mode and configuration mode. Here in Cisco iOS, we have a lot more modes. But if you see the greater than symbol, ladies and gentlemen, it is user mode that you type enable, right? Because this would be the command. You will, well, I can't do it now, but if you type enable, it will take you from user mode to privilege mode. Here, now it gets a little bit more dangerous because you have actually access to delete starter configurations. You have access to delete the flash, so that's where your iOS sits. All right, so careful when doing this, but I'll show you how to go, not around that, but secure that. Then we type config T, which is short for configuration terminal. We're configuring through the terminal, all right? It's like we're canceling in, all right, but we're not canceling in. We're just, clicking on the freaking router and the packet tracer and going in there. So the first thing we're gonna do is give it a name, host name. And I have a tendency just to look at the upper left-hand corner of the packet tracer. It says router 0, so I just call it R0. Why do I do things in caps? Just for those of you who are curious, because I can't see, all right? Even though I did LASIK and even though I have glasses, I wanna be able to not have to squint when I'm looking. That's why I put things in caps. Yes, I'm loud, I'm not screaming. I'm talking loud and clear so you can understand me, and as well as putting it in caps so you don't have to squint, all right, so you can see it nice and well. So the first thing we're going to do is the privilege mode passwords, meaning after I type enable to get to user mode, to get to privilege mode, I need passwords. So there's two: enable password, Cisco enable secret student. Now people say, you don't do this in the real world, lads. You don't do this. Okay, yes, fine, great, outstanding that you don't do this in the real world. You are the bomb. You know what's up. But guess what? In your certification, they will ask you this. And wouldn't it suck that if you take this test and you fail because you don't know how to put a simple password in there? Because you just like, well, I work with them, do this. Well, I don't care, okay? You need to know this for the certification, and that's your goal. Get that piece of paper so you can get past HR. So what is this? Enable password Cisco is a plain text password, Cisco being the password, okay? The next one is a using the secret, it is an encrypted password. Student. So what is it that you need to type after you type enable? Student. The encrypted will overwrite the plain text. So here comes the other question. Laz, why are you typing both? Because you need to know both. That's one reason. You need to know both. And your books or older Cisco books will tell you that if you have to revert to an older iOS, I don't know, Google it, look up the version that supported, that didn't support the secret password. You had at least a plain text password that would allow you in. That's it. But just know that both are there. But if you want to encrypt everything, every plain text password in your router, past, present, and future, then type this command. Service password. Oops, can I tab it there? Yeah, cool. Password hyphen encryption. Yes, tab is your friend. Tab is your friend. Okay. Service password hyphen encryption means I will encrypt that plain text password that you see right here that says Cisco. It will no longer be plain text. It will be a very, very small, it's a 7 type of encryption hash. Okay. Where secret is much bigger than MD5. Okay. So bigger type of encryption. So this could be a question. Is this stronger than this? By no means. This is definitely a lot stronger in encrypting this password than using this command to encrypt every other plain text password. But you have that possibility. All right. So then we go into banner. Message of the day. Are there a million other banners? Yes, they are. The message of the day you need to put in. I'm sorry, I don't know why I type question mark. It's a force of habit. Banner is this banner. You will get tested on the message of the day banner if they test you at all. Okay, it will be you need to put a delimiting character. I like to use the $. All right. So in here I put my message. Welcome to my router. Okay, whatever. All right, and then when you're done with the message, you type the same character that you started with $. And whatever's in between is the message that's going to pop out. Okay, that's the point of the banner of the day. How will you get tested on this? A million ways from to Sunday. Okay, so they can. One of the things is it'll give you different examples of banners, and they'll start with one character and with another. It doesn't work. They'll start with a character that's illegal, like let's say the /. That's an illegal because that's something that you use like in a file system, right? There's certain characters you can't use in a file name, right? Same thing here. All right. So if you start, especially the biggest one is the number sign. People put in the number sign, valid character you start with. If you need help, call number sign and then the number and then a number sign to end it. Well, you ended it before in the first number sign, so nobody gets to see the number. This is the kind of ways that they test you. All right, for that. So know that whatever you start with, you end with. Whatever's in the middle, it's not welcome to my router. It's like, if you don't belong here, get the hell out. All right. Banner, MOTD, Now we're going to turn on the DNS, IP domain, hyphen lookup. Now, the only reason I'm typing this command, because it's already on. That's on by default. I'm typing it so you can see it. Because if somebody turned it off, now you know how to turn it on. Then after that, it's turning on DNS service. You're going to say IP domain hyphen name. And I'm going to say globed.net. Globed.net, right? That's my platform, all right? And then I need to point it to a server. We have no server. We're going to make one up, all right? IP name hyphen server. We just pick whatever, 192.168.1.20. Doesn't really matter. Okay, we're not going to use it. Now, why would you turn this on? Why would you use this? Well, first of all, if you're using SSH, you need to have a host name and you need to have a domain name. So that way you can generate the keys. If you don't have a domain name and you don't have a host name, you can't do the crypto key generate command. You can't do that. So you need to have these two on there. Now, if I'm actually pointing into a DNS server, that means that you want, let's say if you're pinging as an example, and you want to ping by name instead of IP address, then you can go ahead and do that using a DNS server. Retarded, because why in the world would you, on a router, a core router at that, or even if it's not your core router, a router anyway, that you got to point to a DNS A record or quad A record because you want to resolve, because you don't want to ping by IP address. That's just plain but stupid. Okay, so what you do is create a static host table all right, that will do that for you if that's what you want to do, all right? But anyway, this is what that configuration is for. All right, so we have DNS, we have the banner. Let's create a user account. Username. Now, there's many ways of doing this, many ways of creating user accounts, okay, for different types of purposes. We're going to do it so we can use it to log in locally, whether we're telnetting or we're SSHing in, or even if we're counseling in. All right, so we can do username, LDs. Oh, and I said caps, right? LDs. And be careful within the packet tracer, you know, don't forget how you typed it, because then you got to bypass it. Username LDs, easy to bypass. I'll show you. Username LDs, privilege. There's 15 privileges, 1 through 15. Do I know each and every one? No. Know that the lower the privilege, the less privilege you have. The higher privilege, which is 15, you have full administrative rights. All right, which that's what I want. And then I say, okay, what password? And we'll just call it different. We're not going to say Cisco. We're going to say password 0, which is plain text, and then Mango. Well, last, why did you put it in plain text? Because I'm not going to encrypt it. This will do it for me, because the only thing I can type is 0 or 7. So I'm just going to leave it at 0 and let these password, the service password hyphen encryption encrypt it for me. All right, so we got the username, we got the DNS going, we got that going. Let's go ahead and configure some SSH commands, IP, SSH, authentication retries. How many times do you want people to screw up? 3 times, and then they get locked out. All right. I'm sorry. I need to open up a ticket. I forgot my password. Yeah. Okay. Don't forget it again. IP timeout. IP SSH. Sorry. IP SSH timeout. We'll do 120 seconds. That is the maximum. You can do a version. I'm not going to do the version. Okay. But you can do that if you want to. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and now I can do my crypto now, because I have a user. I have a domain name and I have a host name. So I can do crypto Key Generate Rsa. I'm going to hit enter at that point. And you can see it says the keys that will be used is r0globed.net. You don't have this, you can't do this. And I'm not going to use 512. It says a maximum of 2048, and that's what I'm going to use, because everything's been hacked up to that point. You see it hit enter, it says enabled 1.99. All right, I think we're at one higher version, 10.0. I'm not sure. But that's not, I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about that you understand what these commands are doing. All right, cool. So we got that going. Let's, I'm tired of seeing that red line. Let's go inside the interface of G000 real quick. G0/0/0. Let's put an IP address. It's 254, which is the gateway, 192.168.1.254, 255.255.255.0. What did I do wrong? I did something. I have too many dots. Too many dots, lads. Fat finger the keyboard. That's the biggest issue in real world scenarios. Fat fingering the keyboard. And not knowing your IP. No shut. Okay. That's DWR. Now, one thing in the packet tracer, ladies and gentlemen, this is your best friend right here. Fast forward through time, fast forward through time, fast forward through time. So the router it does what it has to do. Now look, I hit enter. Look what it said. Welcome to my router. Oh, okay. I'm going to type enable. Hey, I need a password, bro. Oh, okay. Cisco. CISCO. Nope. Okay. Student. 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 Overrides the plain text. How about that? Global configuration. Now we got the interface going. Let's go into the console. Line con 0. Password. Yeah, let's put password Cisco. But if I were to type just log in, if I can type it, if I just type log in, it's going to try, hey, use that password right there. It's just going to prompt me for a password. I do not want that. I created a username for a purpose. So log in local. Use the local username and password, which the username is LDs, the password is Mango. All right, we'll put that there. We'll also put this one, exec-timeout, 10 minutes, 20 seconds. This is if you don't type anything for 10 minutes and 20 seconds. And the reason I put it that way is so you can see the difference. The first one is minutes, the next one is seconds. Again, it would suck out of 102 questions that you're taking, your multiple choice test, and they ask you this and you forget that the first one is minutes and the second one is seconds. That would really suck. Or does not have enough knowledge for configuring administrative commands. That's something like that it will tell you. Doesn't tell you specifically what you failed. just a generalization. And you may have failed by 2 points. That would really suck. All right, just because you don't want to do this. All right, and then you have login synchronous, tab. That is really just a nuisance command, meaning the command is not a nuisance. It's a nuisance every time you get feedback from your router that you're getting interrupted while you're typing. That's the nuisance. That's the nuisance. Okay, so login synchronous. And then we're going to do the same thing for the telnet lines. Line VTY 0 space 15. Password. Again, we'll put Cisco. But login local. Login local. We don't want to use this. Just get prompted for a password. We want to get prompted for a username and password. Login local, meaning local username and password. Do the exact same, exact timeout. 10 space 20. Okay. And then if I am through telnet, I don't want my typing to be interrupted. That's it. But one final thing, we want to use SSH. So we got to say transport input, and then you have an option. Now everybody gets upset at me because I put all. Well, you can't put all, man, because that's a security violation. It's a friggin' lab. It's a lab. The reason I do it is so you can telnet and SSH, so you can practice both. Obviously, you want to turn off telnet or you want to be able to just enable SSH, period. Okay? But the reality is, for all you security engineers out there, that we don't want to use SSH because we want to go through the trouble of configuring it and telnet. Because when I was at the switch, that's all we did was telnet into all our devices. And it's still the truth to today. Sad, but true. But I'm going to put all so we can do both. All right? Do WR. Control Z, and let's take a look. Let's just do a show start and just walk through it. There is our service password -encryption, our host name. You can see that we're using 5, right, for the secret. See how big that is versus the 7. See how big that is. Okay, and then we go down. Here's my username and password. It's encrypted. It's encrypted, just like it encrypted this, and it was plain text. This was plain text. Okay. And then we have the domain name. You're never going to see IP domain -lookup. You're never going to see it. It's on by default. We typed it again. You're never going to see it. Okay, but you will see these two. Verify that's correct. We're not pointing to any server, but at least we pretending to. And here now we have 1.254, the interface. Okay, and we have our banner. All right, and then we have our line cons configured. And our VTYs configured. You can see that it separates because these are the default telnet lines. So it separates those from the additional telnet lines that exist. All right. All right. So it's up to you if you want telnet or SSH, but they do. You can open up one. You can open up all of them. You can open up some of them. It's up to you. Again, you got to have a test mind. Forget about what you do at work, because what you do at work, you're not going to put in the test. You got to do what the test requires. All right, and understand the concepts so you can carry it to your job, what have you. All right, so let's go ahead and, couple other commands. We look at show IP in brief. Okay, we can see that is up. Definitely want to make sure that we see that it's up, and we have the right gateway under the right interface. We can also do a show IP route. Look at the routing table, and we see that we're locally. That's what the legend codes. Yeah, that's a new question now. One of my students told me that when he was taking one of these practice exams, that they asked, what's the legend code L stand for? Really? All right, so they want you to know these are your legend codes, what I have highlighted up here. So know that L means local, C is connected, S is static, and I doubt they'll go beyond EIGRP, that's D, or OSPF, or B, that's BGP, or RIP. That's about it. They're not going to do external types. Maybe if you're multiple area OSPF, you'll see an E2, external type 2. Other than that, no. More likely, you'll probably not even see external, you'll see IA. It will be inter-area. It'll be inter-area, you'll see IA. But no, those are legend codes. All right, so it looks like we have connectivity. So we're going to go to our PC, and we're going to go ahead and ping. First and foremost, before we try anything, 192.168.1.254. And we can gain access to, we have connectivity between us and our gateway, which is our router. So let's try telnetting into the router. So telnet 192.168.1.254. First thing it asks me, that is my local username and password, LDs. And now the password is Mango, M-A-N-G-O. What's his name-o? Mango, right? And then you're inside your router. You can do your show start. You can do whatever you want. Take a look through it. And this is normally how you would do things, right? So let's exit out of here. All right. Or you can SSH. SSH minus L list who? LDs. Okay, LDs. And then what's the IP address? 192.168.1.254. And it says, what's the password? Mango. Oops, I typed something. I messed up. Okay, let's do it again. M-A-N-G-O. And now I'm there, but you see the difference. Well, not really, because I have level 15 privilege. You see that when I typed it in, username, LDs, whatever, it took me straight to privilege mode. I didn't have to type enable. All right, just like here when I SSH'd, all right, because since I have privilege 15, which is administrative, I bypass the user mode and go straight into privilege mode because of level 15 privilege. Okay, so this is your basic house, I think bottom of the barrel, basic housekeeping that you would do if you're still typing things in. You know, your programmer is not on board yet. Your Ansible or Python skills are just not there yet. Okay, for you to do this, this is something that's, you know, it's your ABCs. This is something that just needs to happen. Plain connectivity, plain security, just putting things in there, you know, so you can gain access to the router securely. That is it. All right, very simple, very easy. This is something you can do in your switch, because the same commands that I just did, I do in my switch. The same exact commands. The only exceptions is that in your switch, you would do other things. And let's do a couple here. Let's do a couple. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but we're in VLAN 1, right? And let's give this switch a name. Enable conft, right? This is switch 0, so hostname SW0, right? So what we like to do, we're in VLAN 1 by default. So what we do is we go int VLAN 1, we give it an IP address within the subnet we're in, 192.168.1.253, because the router is 254, 192.168.1, no, I'm sorry, what am I doing? 255.255.255.0, I hit enter. And you see that when we went inside VLAN 1, it doesn't turn on. In other labs that you've seen me do, when I do VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, once you go inside that VLAN, it comes up automatically, right? But not VLAN 1. VLAN 1, you need to turn it on. Now, there's something very important about this, okay? Something very important. If you're within your own subnet, if you turn on Telnet and SSH like we did in the router, if you're in that subnet, you can get into it if you're within your subnet. If you're not, if you're remote, meaning you're in subnet 2, you're in subnet 10, you're in subnet, you know, whatever, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, you need to do this. Exit, and you should do it anyway. IP default gateway 192.168.1.254. Oops. You need to do that. All right. So everything else pretty much remains the same. I mean, we have specific commands, obviously, VLANs and VTP and span tree and all that. But as far as this basic housekeeping, what we just do on the router, we can do on the switch. This is the added stuff that we would do in order to manage that particular switch. Okay. We can telnet into the switch by typing this IP address. All right, because we're in the same subnet. But if you're in a remote subnet, you need to type this. You can ping through it, but you can't get inside it, as per Cisco. Okay? You need to know this. You need to know this. You need to practice this over and over again until it becomes second nature. This is something that's so basic. It's so easy. They can ask it in an interview. They can ask it, you know, in the certification. Do not miss this question. Do not miss this question, because you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt for a long time. This is very basic commands, all right? And this is something that you will, let's say, hand your programmer, or you can script it and you can, you know, run it through 1,000 routers, right? It gets monotonous after a while. So just slap on 5 routers in there, 5 switches, type the basic housekeeping, and you're good. Once it's engraved in your head, you're done. But it's easy to forget. So practice, practice, practice. I'll see everybody next time.